What's up, guys? Tukey here, back again with another episode of my Fantasy Draft Franchise Mode series here on NHL 17. And in this episode, we hope to finally get through this season. We're just a little bit over the halfway point. And in the last episode, obviously, there were some interesting twists and turns as we started to lose. Our lead in the division has slipped. And of course, some pretty big moves were made. Now, in an effort to really continue to change things up, you are going to notice that certain other players have had their player types switched to really try and get the offense going. It might be a bit controversial that the third line is now all playmakers, but it makes sense given what they are. The big changes come defensively, as certain players like Olli Juolevi, who was a two-way, is now a defensive D-man because he's not really making the most of being a two-way. Liljegren from an offensive defenseman to a two-way. Sergachev still a two-way. Brady Shea still a two-way. And I think Koltsov still a two-way. Basically, a big change in getting rid of Dylan Strome. And now we're trying to, tweak things as much as we possibly can. The power play and penalty kill lines have also been changed quite a bit as well. But we're trying to tweak things as much as we can to get this team back to really the way you would hope that they would play. We have lost 7 straight games. I almost thought I was going to have to say 8, but we did beat the Ottawa Senators, and then immediately we lose a player to injury down in Chicago, which Furtak, unfortunately, somebody who we'd really like to get more ice time, but we do have Fierro here in case of injury, so that worked out all right. Although apparently he was a shootout taker. Okay, that's kind of weird given some of the players that we have on this team. Who has the best shot? That would be skating. Shot would be over here. Right. I don't remember if Gardner was in there. Let's go with Davis. I don't think Davis was in there. Yes. Okay, good. We guessed right. Like I said, I'm going to try like hell to get us through the season here. As far as any moves, like any extra trades, I really feel like we covered all of our bases in that last episode. We have good depth down in Chicago. We won 3 out of 4 games. We've only dropped 1 point so far this episode as we get into the All-Star break. I hate to say it, barring any major injuries, we should be okay. Oh, God, there it is. There it is. I was going to say, I hope that if any major injuries do happen, that it happens before, EA, if you're listening, that it happens before the trade deadline so that we could actually do something about it and try to help protect ourselves. But let's go best lines here, and we should pretty much be good to go. I'm actually going, no, we'll put Bellerive there. That's fine. And then defensively, we're still good. The power play unit, it's so weird to me that it still puts Dmitry Koltsov there instead of Liljegren. Maybe a little bit telling, but we'll put Liljegren in there manually. And then down in the AHL, I did edit those lines just a little bit, so I'm going to actually choose who we put in here. And it'll probably be Markov or Kennins. Who do we want to go with? Why did that switch? What the fuck was that, EA? Why did that switch to Blues players? What the fuck? All right, can I look at Kennins, please? Wow. Okay, that's Markov then, because what the hell? What the hell? It's always something. It is always something. We actually get a trade offer, 3 prospects for Danny DeKeyser. Yeah, we will pass. I guess I haven't even bothered with the trading block on the series in a while, now that I think of it. 2 wins now after the All-Star break, so things are looking good. Our momentum is back as we keep getting offers for defensemen. I will change the trading block once we hit the upcoming weekend against Arizona. We'll do that then so that we don't keep getting these offers. Furtak is back in Chicago. Hopefully not fully healthy. He's going to be pissed about missing games, but you know what? It is what it is. Davidson's back as well, so god damn it. Is he going to be back for this Nashville game? No, he's not. Okay, so we will sim this game, and then we'll look to get Davidson back, although I did say he wasn't going to be fully healthy until the 14th, but I think for the sake of time, we'll risk it here. But quickly, let's edit this trading block, because otherwise we're going to keep getting offers. Let's get rid of all of this. I really wish at the beginning of a new season it wouldn't just randomly reassign it again. It should remain empty unless I choose to personally put in the information. But that is just another small gripe that I have with this game. Again, some complaints I have, I can honestly and obviously admit that it's not the biggest problem in the world. It's just a matter of convenience, but it is what it is. Anyway, as we continue to edit these lines, what the hell can I talk about? Because I don't exactly just want to be like, okay, we're going to put this guy here and we're going to put that guy there. But the only two things I have in my mind that are like hockey related, not too much conversation to be had. I'll bring it up anyway. I've already brought it up. But Joe Thornton getting 1,000 career assists, that is absurd, and extremely happy for him. Obviously, it's kind of one of those weird situations because the Bruins traded him, and it would have been great to have him be a Bruin for all of these years, but I do suppose shit happens. But regardless, happy for him, and definitely, in a way, I mentioned in the trade deadline post, I'm trying to focus on multiple different things, and I'm alright with multitasking, but not when I'm tired. I said in the trade deadline video, how could you not be rooting for the LA Kings because of Jarome Iginla? In a way, how can you not root for the San Jose Sharks as they still have Joe Thornton and Patrick Marleau? Again, I get it. You might not be a fan of that particular team, but it's strange, man. I'm still in, my freaking, I guess, technically mid-20s now. Define that. But yeah, to just see so many of these guys where it's like, oh yeah, they're some of the best players ever. To see them getting towards the end of their career knowing that they still don't have a cup, it just makes you sad. Or at least it should. If it doesn't, you're a terrible person. It should make you sad that Joe Thornton doesn't have a cup, that Patrick Marleau doesn't have a cup, that Jarome Iginla doesn't have a cup, and you're a terrible person if you don't feel that way, unless you're like a LA Kings fan and you don't want to see the Sharks win for obvious reasons, but that's not exactly what I'm talking about. But aside from that, and I mentioned this on Twitter a bit too, the other big thing is the whole controversy surrounding Joshua Ho-Sang, which, when you call it a controversy, that's just kind of tiptoeing around it. I mean, let's be honest here. It's not so subtle racism that's being directed towards him. People have been taking shots at him since before he was drafted. They've certainly done it after he was drafted. This really started too last year, or was it? God, when was he sent home from camp? Because that's when that started. He overslept. He missed the start of a training camp, and they sent him home. And then all the little maybe subtly, I'm not saying everyone that took a shot at Joshua Ho-Sang is a racist, but certainly those people came out of the woodwork, and they've been ever since trying to find any reason they can to take a shot at the guy. And it's sad. It's hilarious in a way because of how desperate they are. But, he picked number 66. I mean, oh my God, how disrespectful to Mario Lemieux. And it's like, no, it's not. And you're just being a douche. His number's not retired. And I'm sure if Lemieux cared enough, he would have asked, hey, retire my number. Or it could be that Mario Lemieux realizes it's just a goddamn number and it doesn't really matter. I mean, Jesus, throughout I do not believe that there are any retired numbers league-wide in the NFL. 99% sure. Same thing in the NBA. Michael Jordan's number isn't retired. It's just Jackie Robinson and Wayne Gretzky. Obviously, Mario Lemieux is one of the best of all time, perhaps the best when you look at raw talent. It's a debate. It is a legitimate debate. There aren't too many players where you can legitimately debate, are they as good, if not better, than Wayne Gretzky? That is a very, very short list. But Lemieux is one of the rare names on that list. And for some reason, I just don't think he cares if Joshua Ho-Sang uses that goddamn number. But people will always find a way to complain, and then, of course, if anyone wanted to counter that, they could say, oh, well, you're complaining about people complaining, which is my favorite comeback in any argument, because that means somebody just has nothing to go off of. But the whole point of this little rant was to say I'm very happy to have seen Joshua Ho-Sang score his first career NHL goal. That was sweet. Scored it in Edmonton. Wish he had scored it in Pittsburgh. And then marched up the stands and spit in Mario's face saying, fuck you, it's my number now. Because that's totally what he would have done, at least if you believe some of the people that you see on Twitter and Reddit. But again, it's the internet, so... Oh, boy, that's a hell of a rant. That right there is a grade A quality late night rant from me, where I am tired and fired up, damn it. But yeah, just in general, like I said, I mentioned it last night on Twitter, where it's just, you know what, I'm happy he scored. I hope he sticks around with the Islanders. I hope that he continues to do well, and I hope he continues to piss people off by doing well, because it is hilarious to just in general, to see people complain online, particularly when you know that the real reason behind someone's complaint. And that's a very broad stroke, and you could say that about a lot of topics, we'll say, especially in terms of what's often discussed on Twitter as of late. But you can tell when it's more than just, oh, I don't like this guy. You can tell when it's more. So to Joshua Ho-Sang, I hope you stick with the Islanders. I hope you make the team next year out of camp. I hope you score 50 goals next year. I do. I really hope that you do. Anyway, we have under 20 games to go in this season. An 11-point lead on the Minnesota Wild. Things are looking good, although we do have a pretty busy month here. We'll have to make sure that Carey Price plays Montreal. So, God, no. Fucking God. There it is. There it is. 9 days after the trade deadline, there it is. Oh my God. Carey Price goes down with a torn groin until May 1st, guaranteeing that we're going to have to get to at least the second round for him to play another game this season. Holy shit. Right. Well, Chris Dreger obviously gets called up, and the one hope now is that Vitaly Fedorov, who is up to a 76 overall, somehow turns into an 86 before the end of the season. Otherwise, we have Michael DiPietro and Chris Dreger as our 1-2 combo. Thank God we signed Chris Dreger, but we just lost Carey Price. And I always joke about it, like, oh, you know, hopefully the injury doesn't happen, but this time, avoid major injuries. Oh my God, we are without Carey Price now for the rest of the season. That is beyond harsh, EA. That is beyond harsh. I want to just sit here and cry over it, really, but we have to keep going. Michael DiPietro, between the pipes, moving forward. Chris Dreger will play against the Winnipeg Jets. So far, okay, good. We at least made it through that day. I was sitting here thinking, like, okay, it's kind of going slow. I'm going to say so far DiPietro's doing well, and then he's going to get hurt. That hasn't happened yet, and he did relatively well for himself. We have 44 wins on the season. We have clinched a playoff spot, thankfully. 12 points ahead of the Minnesota Wild, and we are in the stronger division with both wildcard spots currently belonging to the Central. Michael DiPietro, a .930 save percentage in 22 games. We might be in good hands. This is a huge moment for Chris Dreger, who really needs to prove himself. And I hope I'm pronouncing that last name right. It might be like Dreger or something like that. Dreiger? I don't know. I'm going to say Dreger. Can he beat the Winnipeg Jets? I thought that was going to be an injury. I only pooped a little bit. Just a little bit. Is that going to be a win? It's a shootout loss. We at least picked up a point. I'm good with that. That's not the worst thing. Like, if we had lost 8-1, then I would have been concerned. That is not a bad debut for Dreger in a Blues uniform. Not at all. I cannot believe Carey Price is hurt. Oh, man. That is so harsh. That is so harsh. Of all the people, too, it had to be Carey Price. Although, like, if you had to say who would you prefer to get injured out of your superstars, it would probably be Carey Price, because I think losing the offensive Connor McDavid or the defensive presence of Drew Doughty would be that much worse. We can win with an 83 overall goaltender between the pipes, although granted, we did lose against the LA Kings. But I feel overall we have a chance to recover. Right now, of course, we are trading wins and losses, but anything can happen once you're in the playoffs. We are guaranteed at this point to have, I would say, to at least have the number one seed in the division. I would like to think. We have 4 games left this year. Have we clinched the division? We haven't, but it's close. Our 13 overtime losses carrying us through right now over Minnesota. No doubt about that. But let's take a look and see what the situation is. So Minnesota has 5 games left. We need 2 points. 2 points, 1 win guarantees us the Central Division title. As far as the President's Trophy goes, Toronto's still in it, and Buffalo are still in it. The reason why I'm looking is because we're going to put Dreger in. I don't want to risk DiPietro. I don't. So Dreger will be between the pipes, and hopefully he can get us a win. If we don't win the President's Trophy, will that suck? Yes. But I would rather make sure that DiPietro is good to go, because having to go into the playoffs with Dreger and whoever else as a backup, probably Fedorov, although I wouldn't necessarily want to call up Fedorov. I'd rather have him in Chicago, as you know, you can see by the record, they are preparing for their own playoff run, but they do lose fourth liner Riley Sutter, which is unfortunate, but we will get him replaced, and that will be by Kennons this time, because why not? By the way, Mackenzie Stewart, the enforcer, back up to a 79 overall. Not too shabby from him. But here we go. Dreger, between the pipes. Oh my God, we got shelled. He got shelled, and we lose again. Oh my God. Well, we have won the division. We've sealed the conference. My confidence in Dreger is shot right about now. What's the President's Trophy race looking like? We are now 2 points back of the Maple Leafs. Okay. Well, how much? I'm not risking it. I'm not. If we get to the Cup final and don't have home ice, whatever. I'm not risking it. Dreger will play these last 2 games, and whatever happens, happens. Hopefully he can get us a win. A 6-3 win over the Sharks. Can we beat Calgary? If we do, we still have a chance at the President's Trophy. 2-1 victory. The Chicago Wolves officially qualify for the playoffs. Let's take a look. Now, it's pretty much, the playoff matchups are pretty much sealed. We won't go over that at the moment. We fell just short. Just short. Toronto has it on tiebreaker already, but that's not too bad, all things considered. There are some teams that still have to play, but we will still look at the stats. We have the second best offense in the NHL. Goals against per game tied for the second least allowed. Not too bad at all. Our power play, a top 5 power play, not too bad whatsoever, and we're not that far behind the Minnesota Wild either. And looking at the penalty kill, we are, we're up there, 83.3%. Not ideal, but not too bad overall. The Chicago Wolves, by the way, 3rd place in their division. They still have a chance. That is a very close division with those 4 teams. So no President's Trophy this year, and we go into the playoffs without Carey Price. That is a scary thought. But looking at the stats, Connor McDavid finishes with 90 points. Is that his highest total? I feel like it is. And yeah, by far, 90 points this year for Connor McDavid. That is insane. Ovi, 83 points at 63 years old. At 36 years old. And then Michael Dowcall, 77 points. 57 for Keller. Drops off a bit from there. Drew Doughty with 48. Mateos with 45. Not terrible. That's not terrible. Costin, 43. Obviously, you'd hope for a little bit better. Jost with 40. Lavin, 37. Davidson with 35. Athanasiou, 27. Zaka with 21. Overall, not too bad. Perhaps the most disappointing player on the team, Timothy Liljegren. That few points with 86 offensive awareness and 96 passing. He is an enigma. I do not understand how you finished with those stats. That is strange. We also had 3 players that were minuses. Athanasiou, Costin, Bellerive, and Jamie Bjugstad, who only played 4 games. So some very interesting stats, I would say at least. Looking at the goaltending, I mean, I'm going to cry. But Carey Price played 51 games, had a .917 save percentage. DiPietro with 29 appearances, he has a .926. Dreger with 6 appearances. It's not looking too good with an .886 save percentage. If there is injury to DiPietro, Vitaly Fedorov gets called up. I am telling you that right now. And as it is, he's up to a 78 with a .931 save percentage in 73 appearances. We have he has carried that team to the playoffs. No doubt about it. And I guess looking at the other points, Reed Gardner looking like a pretty good first call-up. Eggenberger doing well, Zadina and Davis. We're in a good spot despite the fact that we just lost the best goaltender in the game, which you can't often say that. So I guess, for the most part, I'm happy, and it could be a hell of a lot worse. But let's find out for sure. We're probably playing Nashville, although some teams still have to play at least one more game. We'll find out for sure right about now, or at least after we go through the scouting assignment again. Let's scout goalies for 3 weeks, because why the hell not? Sutter is back for Chicago. And indeed, there was a change. Right now, the Blackhawks, all of a sudden, would play the Minnesota Wild. I'm 99% sure it is going to be Nashville in the first round. I don't care about the goals. And indeed, it is. So we have our first round matchup. Let's take a look at the full bracket, though. It is the Minnesota Wild and the Chicago Blackhawks. We play Nashville, Calgary, and Anaheim, San Jose, and Winnipeg in the East, Philly and the Rangers, Pittsburgh and Washington, because of course, Ottawa and Buffalo, and the Maple Leafs and Bruins. So some interesting series there. Of course, it is Fantasy Draft, which, actually, now that I think about it, no Florida Panthers, which means no Sidney Crosby in the playoffs. The Panthers were beasts last year. I wonder what happened. Let's take a look, though, at league-wide scoring, and then maybe we'll take a look at the Florida Panthers. Jamie Benn actually beat McDavid in the scoring race with 92 points. Ovechkin was there. Hey, Josh Hosang at 86 was up there as well. Jeremy Bracco, 72 points for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Right. Let's take a look at the rookie race, the Calder race. Rudolph Burkhoff looking like he is going to take home that award. Lavin, not a bad effort, though. Vieni Vevalainen at 25 was a rookie. A couple of rookie goalies that played. Tim Holstrand, not the ideal starter for Arizona, but that was the case. Really quickly, though, the Florida Panthers. What happened? Do they still have Crosby? I do wonder. Let's take a look at the goaltending. They have Charlie Liljegren, or Lindgren, I apologize. I'm so used to saying Liljegren. And Nick Ellis as the backup. So the goaltending wasn't terrible. Sidney Crosby was still there. They just didn't make it. Damn. Like, they have a good team on paper, too. But further proof you never know, and I'm intrigued enough that I'm actually going to go look at the standings really quick. They were not great. 13 points behind Ottawa. Wow, an interesting turn of events in the East. But regardless, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. We are in the playoffs yet again, but we start without Sidney Crosby. Certainly without Sidney Crosby. We start without Carey Price, who won't be back until the second round if we make it. And that's honestly a big if with Michael DiPietro between the pipes. Before I make a fool out of myself by stumbling over my words and making another mistake, I will call this episode done. So as always, guys, if you did enjoy, feel free to support the video, the channel, support me in any way that you deem necessary. And I will see you guys in the next one. Blues and Preds yet again. Can we get it done without Carey Price?